Hello, and thank you for joining me today for this tour of IntelliEnterprise, our intranet software with over 100 built-in features. This sample homepage, as well as any other page in IntelliEnterprise, are built with so-called portlets. So those are the main building blocks on each page. In the top left-hand corner, for example, you see a portlet that shows you documents that have been recently uploaded or updated within the intranet. In the middle, you see an announcements portlet, and this quickly aggregates items from a variety of subpages here on my home page. So this item is coming from corporate news, but other items are coming from IT announcement or the EO blog, but you could change that quickly with just 2 or 3 clicks. In the top right-hand corner, we see personalized navigation links. Personalized means that the links the user sees here are based on the role. So someone working in human resources might see different links here compared to somebody working in finance. In total, we have over 100 of such portlets available, so that should allow you to build pretty much anything you want to build with your intranet. Other portlets we have on this page are Did You Know? That just shows you a daily changing tip. In this case, it's showing you a topic from a knowledge base. Then we have a slew of people-centric portlets. For example, new hires or new awards. Here we have something that's similar to a corporate Twitter stream. We call it Last Activities. And basically it shows you all the recent events that took place in your intranet. And you can go through the pages here. And then finally in the middle, I'd like to mention the dashboard portlet. So in IntelliEnterprise, you can extract data from backend databases and visualize this data in real time as business charts. So if you placed it here on a home page, you could use it for things that are frequently changing but of general interest, like order volume or website visitors. But you could also use these dashboards to create functional dashboards, let's say for sales. Coming back here to the activity stream for a second, anywhere you see a name, you can hover with your mouse cursor over it and you get such a little business card pop-up. So that just shows you all of the basic details about this colleague. But if you click on the name, you'll be sent to their profile page. Here is where you find all of the information about this colleague. So their picture, maybe awards they have recently been awarded, who they're following and is following them. Or if this is my own profile, which it is, it even lets me here edit all of my info by clicking on the edit icon. And then I see here that most fields here can be edited. Some may not be edited. So we're using actually Active Directory or LDAP or ADFS to get all of this user information into IntelliEnterprise. So the idea is that you only create a user once, and then it automatically shows up in IntelliEnterprise here. And users can even use these fields to update their information in those original backends. But of course, you could disallow that if you preferred. And we can also make additional fields available for things like responsibilities, skills, tags, languages, project experience, anything that makes finding an expert easier, because all of this will be fully searchable. Now coming back to my profile page here, again it's built with these so-called portlets, so it's entirely up to you what you want or don't want to appear on your personal profile pages. So other portlets we have, for example, are a tag cloud. We also have sort of my position within the corporate hierarchy. You can see my report to chain. I'm Henry, I'm reporting to Joanne, she's reporting to James. I can see a list of people I'm sharing the same manager with, which is Rachel in this case, or who's reporting to me, which is nobody in this example. Now we do a little bit more with the information about people. For example, we use it here in a people finder, where based on 2 or 3 search criteria, let's say location and business unit, you could filter for the right expert in your organization. So that's probably the fastest way to find anyone in my organization. But we also have an automatic visualization of an org chart where you can simply unfold the different branches here in my org chart and just quickly get a sense of who's who in the organization, which maybe especially if you're new to the organization might be very useful. Coming back to my homepage for a second here, most customers will build areas which will be publicly accessible by all of their employees. So for this purpose, we have here a rather long list of tools and services you can do. For example, we have a built-in wiki, can share bookmarks, can show you a library of all forms, can reserve assets like meeting rooms or even a company car, have a built-in knowledge base, or as today multimedia information gets more and more popular, I'm going to show you the corporate YouTube feature. Basically, this allows you to share marketing videos or training videos with staff, and the video that is playing here is actually playing streaming in a HTML5 video player directly from the Intranet server. So you don't need any plugins installed, and it also works on, let's say, an iPad. It streams straight away here. Now, below this video, and for videos specifically, we have enabled comments and ratings. So I could give feedback to the publisher by saying, this was very useful, and then I'm going to give this 5 stars and save it. And then my comment will instantly show here below this video, where I can edit or delete it. Or of course, as a moderator, as an administrator, I can also delete anyone else's comments. Now, most customers also build areas which are specific to their individual departments. So on this page, for example, we have the homepage of the HR department. Portlets that we see here are, for example, a tag cloud, roles. So it automatically shows you everyone with the HR user role. Or here we have latest HR news, which is the same portlet as we've seen on the home page. But of course, on this page, it would only show you new or updated content from within human resources. And in the middle here, we have a welcome message. And this is a simple HTML portlet, which we can quickly edit, provided we have the permissions to do so. So let's therefore take a very brief look at the permissions manager, which can be accessed on any page through this Actions menu, which again every page has. So I'm clicking this, and then it opens up my Permissions Manager, and I'll just quickly explain what we see. So if we look horizontally, we see every user or user role with any kind of an access to this page. And vertically, I see my site structure. So I'm in Departments, Human Resources, and then all of the sub-pages here, which are, by the way, the same as this navigation portlet. And then this forms a grid, and the grid then is color-coded, and the color finally indicates which level of access each user has on each page. May sound complicated, it's actually really, really simple. Let's say I wanted to make every human resources user an admin within human resources, then I would click where those two meet in my table, select administrator, and then propagate that, so inherit that down my sitemap. And then with 2 clicks, I've made every user suddenly an admin for this area of the intranet. Well, of course, they would remain on a read-only level for anything that is outside of human resources. Now, the welcome message. We can simply edit it now in a HTML5 player that we call No More Boko, which is short for No More Boring Content. And you may have seen other HTML editors, but this one is quite different. It basically makes it impossible to produce ugly content. So you can drag in different content blocks, which all look beautiful, and they're all responsive design. So it's virtually impossible to not design a lovely looking document. And then you can simply overtype the text or the images. You could say, this is the HR department. And then you can even change images, really simple. It has all of the familiar formatting tools still. And if I save that now, it'll instantly show on my live site, unless I have to find an approver who has to electronically sign off of new content, which some of our customers use for their users with editor permissions. Be that as it may, whether or not you have approvals activated, we always maintain a version history of all content. So be it a website, a HTML document, an Office document, or even an image or a PDF, we always have this version history here, which we can access from this topic properties page, which every piece of content has. Obviously, this gets edited very frequently, and I can now see all of these previous versions or even compare them by selecting those two radio buttons here. Opens up as a comparison view, where I see everything that has been added as highlighted in green, and had I deleted anything, it would have been shown in red. Now, if that's the version I want to roll back to, all I have to do is click this revert icon here, and then within 2 seconds, it was actually faster to undo the changes than it took me to make them in the first place. Now, most of the time, however, information doesn't reside just in websites or HTML documents, but in actual Office documents like Word, Excel, and PDFs. And for these types of documents, we have a very powerful document management system on board. For instance, it lets you search in the full text for all Office documents and PDFs. And for these types, we also automatically generate a thumbnail. And then for each document here, we have a couple of options, which I'll just explain. So we can share a document, we can download it, which can be disabled. We have this topic properties page again. We can delete a document, quickly edit its metadata, so things like tags, the author, the region, and so on. And here we have a unique feature which only IntelliEnterprise offers, and it's called Direct Edit. So if you've ever used another intranet, you know that you need to manually check out and download a document. And this Direct Edit function does all of that with just a single click, opens up right in my desktop publishing software, where I can make changes to it. And then if I save it, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, it says uploading to the server for just a brief moment. And that's exactly what it does. It doesn't actually download it locally, just temporarily. So if I go to the topic properties page here and go to the history now, you will see that this is today's date. As you can confirm here, a new version has been created. Now, since we're here, let's talk about metadata. I just mentioned that we have tags, and in IntelliEnterprise you can make tags mandatory or optional, let the user pick from a suggested list of tags, or let them go fully free-form, or any combination of the above. And we can also create custom metadata categories for things like business units, regions, languages, profit center numbers, customer numbers, project names. And we have a plethora of field types available to create these custom metadata categories. So here we have a multi-select. Now we have a checkbox, or we also have other metadata like a drop-down. We can even create what we call bidirectional links. So if there is a piece of information that is somewhat relevant to this content, we can link to it. So let's say I'm looking for a certain policy, and I type in policy, and it makes a search for everything that has that in the title. And then if I click OK, then I can link to this travel policy, and it will show up here as a related policy. Now it's called bidirectional link, because from this policy, there's automatically a link created back to my original document. So this just helps keep users in the loop and avoid this information impasse where you supposedly have reached a dead end. Another way that we try to ensure the content user sees always relevant to them is through publishing period. So that's, in a nutshell, an expiration date for your content. And you could say that everything that gets uploaded expires after, let's say, a year. So that means that once a year, managers have to review all of the content. We can then decide what should happen to content after it has expired. Should it be flagged for review, which means it just gets like a little reading glass icon? Should it be disabled, which means read-only users will no longer be able to see it? Should it be deleted? Or let's say a news item, it could be moved into a news archive after a week or two. And we can also be notified a couple of days ahead of time. Now, apart from Direct Edit, we have another unique feature, which we call Open as Web Folder. So in order to make it more intuitive to contribute information to the intranet, you can open any category that you see inside Windows Explorer. Everybody is familiar with how to use Windows Explorer. This doesn't require any plugins to be installed, and it just opens the page here in Explorer, where I can go to any of these subpages here, drag and drop a dozen files or photos to and from my hard drive. It's super simple to use in real time and cross-check with permissions, so it's safe to use. And yeah, since we talked about metadata, I think it would be a good idea to quickly show off our search. So you can search anything from the top right-hand corner of any page. So you could search for policy, and it brings you to the search results. Now, search is secure. That means items a user isn't permitted to see also won't show up in search results. And we're looking through all kinds of information assets. So we have many websites, Office documents, a forum post, a user profile. We can even integrate external databases or even SharePoint into this search. And we also automatically highlight the search terms here in the abstract from the full text of all Office documents, PDFs, and websites. Now, what makes our search really powerful is that if we have maintained lots of metadata, we can actually use that metadata to filter the search results. So let's say I'm looking for a form, and I know the form is related to employee relations. Then with just 2 clicks here, that's basically the fastest way to find any piece of information about intranet. Next up, we have communities. Communities allow you to collaborate on a subject outside of the normal departmental pages that you may use in your organization. But the word communities really is just a label. Customers can rename it to be called team rooms or groups or collaboration spaces, anything that springs to mind. What they all have in common, though, is that you can either allow all users to create new communities or restrict that to administrators. And for that reason, we have this community administration portlet here, which shows you all of your communities. And I can unfold any of them to see my audience. I can also, for instance, change the membership mode of a community. So we have 3 different modes available. A public community means it's publicly visible to everyone in the organization and everyone can join it. Then registration means the community is still publicly listed, but the content would then be restricted to members, and users have to apply for a membership first. And then we have invitation only, which means just that really the community is completely invisible to you unless you have received and confirmed an invitation to it. Now, communities are built again with these so-called portlets. So in general, we have all portlets available also within communities, plus a few more because they're all about collaboration. We have portlets specifically for communities, like a logo portlet, team members, team applications. Then we have a shared to-do list, a shared discussion forum, and so on. So anything you would expect from a space where people come together to collaborate. The last part of this brief tour is our workflow engine. So in IntelliEnterprise, we want to allow customers to recreate every previously paper-based process electronically. So we employ a very simple 2-step process to allow you to do that. And the first step is that we literally recreate your previously paper-based form as a web form. So this is done with a wizard interface, so you don't need any actual web development skills in order to do this yourself. And in this case here, we have recreated a leave request, or something that's called a PTO request, as a web form. So here we have a bunch of different field types, like a date picker. Then we have a radio button selection, let's say parental leave. And then here's a question: did you check if someone will cover for you? I wonder what that means. So I can go and consult the tooltip for that, and then I can select it. And we even have a comments field. Let's say get a spam practice. And then we save that. And now the second step is to define how this request will be routed within my organization. And this process is designed in our workflow designer, which is a graphical interface that allows you to create workflows easily. But if we stick with our example now, after we have submitted the form, the first step is that we start out at the green traffic light, and then the workflow engine is told to look for this particular user's manager, who will then receive a notification on his or her personal homepage. But because managers are busy, they will also receive an email in this case. Next up, we are awaiting approval, so we're updating the status to say accordingly. And then the manager has to make a decision. If he or she approves of the request, we would automatically assign it to human resources, where they have another field available to them so they can make some departmental procedural comments. And then after they have indicated they have approved the leave, we would return it back to the requester with the information that his leave request has been successfully processed, meaning we have then reached the target node and our workflow has been successfully processed. This is obviously a quite generic and simple workflow, but if you have a more complex workflow, let's say with multiple feedback loops or some business logic in it, then it's really useful to have this graphical interface here, because if you're not very tidy, such as myself, then we have an automatic layout function here, which automatically makes everything really neat and legible, ensuring that even if you're coming back to this in half a year's time, it'll still make sense to you and be easy to understand. And those are all of the core features of IntelliEnterprise. I encourage you to have a play with this very demo yourself by going to our website to demo.adenin.com and selecting one of these 3 personas, where you can play with the same demo intranet I've just shown you for yourself. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at any time using the contact form. Thank you.